YOLO, I have some morality games or puzzles to go over with you guys today to determine whether we are more logical or more emotional in our decision making. These are a couple of things that me and my friends were talking about earlier, and I figured why not share it here? So we will start with the classic, the trolley problem. Most people know this one. A trolley is on its way to run over and kill 5 people who are tied to a track. You could flip a lever, diverting the trolley to a secondary track that would only kill 1 person, saving the 5. But by doing so, you would actively be killing that 1 person and involving yourself in his murder. Is it right to sacrifice the one to save the majority? Do you sacrifice the individual to save the collective? Or do you do the legal thing, which is to stand there and do no intervention, which would then keep your hands clean of any blood, but guarantee that a larger number of lives are lost? What should be no surprise, my friends and all decided to flip the lever. Well, all except for one friend. He didn't want to actively kill somebody, so he said he would rather try to dive under the trolley himself, sacrificing himself so that it might be derailed and save everybody. But the rest of us decided to flip that lever, sacrificing the one guy to save the 5, to increase the number of lives that live. Now, I also had the idea of maybe trying to cause the trolley to multi-track drift by clicking it at specific timing. That way it would then flip sideways and crash and roll over, possibly saving everyone, or multi-track style drifting and squishing everybody. But that's kind of easy and a classic. Let's look at something a little more modern and more difficult. The red versus blue morality question. This one states that basically everyone of sound mind in the world who can understand the consequences of their actions for pressing one of these buttons is given 2 different buttons, a red one and a blue one. If over 50% of the population pushes the red button, then everyone who pushed the blue button will die. If more than 50% of people push the blue button, then everybody gets to live. No one's allowed to communicate during the time of this button pushing, and everyone's push is anonymous, so you don't know what your neighbor pushed, what your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, your aunt, uncle. You don't know what anyone chose. You only know your own decision. Now, if you're anything like me and my other hyper-logical friend, you would look and realize that pushing the red button guarantees you a 100% survival rate. Because if more people push blue than red, everybody lives. If more people press red than blue, all the blue people die, but the red people still get to live. Self-preservation instinct says to push the red button. But you would be directly responsible, or indirectly, partially, proportionally, 51% responsible for the death of tens, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. Could you live with that? One of my friends said no, he would push the blue button because he wouldn't even want to be fractionally responsible for slaughtering the masses. I chose to push the red button because it has a 100% survival rate. On top of that, I also may be a little bit more cynical, but I don't believe in the random altruism or goodness of everyone else to potentially put their own lives on the line to try and save everyone. Because I believe if no one knows what you're doing and isn't communicating with you, people are going to make the choice that is best advantageous to themselves. They are going to choose red more than they're going to choose blue, which means, theoretically, all the blue people will die, so picking blue gives you an unnecessary risk of death. Alternatively, if everyone just picked red, everyone would also live. But another question, or another angle that you have to look at it, is do you really want to live in a world full of only red button pushers? If the majority of people would instinctively or logically hit red, is that the kind of society that you want? One where people only care about what's best for themselves if no one knows what they're going to do. If no one's watching, they'll choose to steal that bread. If no one's watching, they'll choose to bet on red. Or do you want more brotherly love, more camaraderie, more civic sense and duty, a greater purpose for humanity? Do you have hope in people? Hitting blue, trying to save everyone, and even knowing that they may be laying down their own lives, putting themselves in potential harm's way to try and stand by their morals and values. And if most people hit red, you will lose friends and loved ones. The statistical probability that everyone you care about would only pick red is incredibly low. There are bound to be a few people in your friends or family who would pick blue in the hopes of the spirit of humanity rising above their base instincts. And then you'd have to live the rest of your life knowing that, proportionally, you help send that loved one to their grave. Now, if you press red, you press it with the full knowledge that your choice does put others in a position of danger, of peril. But where exactly does the morality or the responsibility of the decision fall upon? Does it fall upon the red people who are willingly putting others in harm's way? Or the blue people who are willingly choosing to go into harm's way for the chance to save everyone? The altruistic, the lay down my life to save my brothers kind of people. They have the same information you do, and they chose to go blue. They chose to take the chance of getting slimed, iced, squished, ejected, bounced, deleted, removed from life, upgraded to death. They decided to roll the dice. You decided to play it safe. They want everyone to live. You potentially want to live or just don't want to die. It seems as if red is the bad choice, morality-wise. But logically, you'd be a fool not to push red. So do you guys push red or do you guys push blue? Here's another scenario that one of my friends had told us. You were on a cruise ship that just went down. Think something along the lines of the Titanic. You're swimming through the water and you make your way over to one of the life rafts. The life rafts have enough room for exactly 10 people. More than 10 people and the raft will sink, regardless if they're skinny people, tall people, fat people, whatever it may be. 10 is the max limit. However, the life raft you're on is kind of shoddy. The wood is slightly rotted and there are holes. People are already in the process of scooping up the water by hand and dumping it out. It's hard, grueling work and it's freezing. After about 20 to 30 minutes, you realize that people have to work in shifts. 9 people work while 1 person rests is the only way to maintain a quick enough speed to keep the water from taking the boat under. You reckon at this rate, you'll be able to keep the boat afloat for about 5 hours while keeping a rotation of workers before people get too cold or too tired to keep working. Your best friend is on another lifeboat which just so happens to be passing by with how the currents are moving. There's not much time, but his lifeboat has 9 positions on it already filled. They have room for just 1 more. He is beckoning for you to come and jump over. You know that if you jump over and leave this ship that is currently sinking, they won't have anyone to replace during rotation, so they'll have to work continuously without rest. Doing so would take their survival time down to probably 2 hours before they all freeze and die. Alternatively, if you stay, everyone could probably last for about 5 hours before you sink and freeze and die. They do not know this information. You are the only one who is able to mathematically figure it out. You don't have much time as your friend's boat is passing by. Do you explain the situation to everyone? Let them take a vote? Try and decide who gets saved? Do you abandon them and jump ship over to the other boat? Or do you stay and continue working to try and double the amount of time that they potentially have left before rescue could or could not show up? This scenario already feels like a no-win situation. And we talked about it back and forth on what would be the best decision, best chance of survival, maybe save the most amount of people. But the hard limit of a boat only being able to sustain the weight of 10 people, regardless of how big they are or whatnot, is one of the biggest factors for our decisions. Because we were originally thinking maybe people could just, drag through the water hanging off the side of the boat, and then take shifts being half frozen, being brought back up and dried off, half frozen, back up and dried off. The real crux of the problem is, do you share this information with the rest of the crew? There's not much time, so you would have to share this information quickly and tell them if 1 person leaves, it cuts our survival time from 5 down to 2 hours. but somebody could go on a guaranteed safe ship. Then there might be chaos and panic and fear, and they might try to swarm onto the safer ship, sinking it, dooming all those people to die, as well as everyone on the original ship that's already sinking. Or do you say nothing and just abandon ship, and then their time gets cut in half? Myself and my two friends who were going over these different scenarios all made the same kind of mutually agreed upon scummy Orwellian draconian decision that we didn't really care for, which was to withhold the information. Because we agreed that it would probably be in the best interest not to tell everybody, on the chance that they would panic, try to scramble over, and then doom everyone to die. I chose to keep my mouth silent and then to jump over to the living ship, cutting the other people's time for survival down to 2 hours. My friend decided he would stay and pick some random person and just toss them over to the other ship, so that he at least does a noble sacrifice, but still stays and works, and the original crew has maybe 2 hours for rescue to find him. My third friend said he'd keep his mouth shut and he'd stay and work, that way they have the maximum amount of time to be saved. So no guaranteed safety for one person from the ship, but everyone has 5 hours instead of 2 to potentially be rescued. How would you guys handle these 3 different moral questions? Would you pull the lever on the trolley, diverting it from killing the 5, but actively being responsible for killing one person? Would you push the blue button or the red button? Red button gives you a guaranteed chance of survival, but it does mean that anybody who pushed the blue button, you are partially responsible for killing them. Or the blue button, you are actively putting yourself in potential death harm's way so that everyone has a chance to live. And when it comes to the boat, do you share knowledge that could cause panic and harm, knowing that 9 out of the 10 won't be able to make it? Or do you keep yourself quiet and abandon ship, or try and toss one of the other people? Or, like my third friend, do you just keep quiet and keep on working, hoping that increasing the maximum amount of time that everyone on the sinking ship has could potentially cause you all to be saved? How would you guys handle these different moral quandaries? I would love to know your answers. Let me know in the comments below. But thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the flip side.